Good evening, everyone. I know it's Saturday afternoon and all the participants are eagerly waiting to enjoy the weekend. But trust me, this session is something that you would want to look forward to because it is delivered none other than by Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy Putta from Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Well, it's my privilege to introduce my friend and the eminent industry person from Dr. Reddy's Laboratories. Well, talking about Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy's career, or rather educational qualifications, Sir has done his Masters, MTech in Biochemical Engineering and Biotechnology from University College of Technology, Osmania University. Well, Sir has trained on lean daily management and focused on continuous improvements. He has strong technical background in biopharmaceutical manufacturing, scale-up, CPV and technology. Transfer of monoclonal antibodies, therapeutic proteins, vaccines and CGMP. Well, Sir has been working in Dr. Reddy's Laboratories Limited Biologics Division, Hyderabad for the past 10 years. So this Biologics Division is a part of Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, limited focused currently in the manufacturing of MABs such as Rituximab. Well, talking about Sir's experience, he handles audits, successfully handled various customer and regulatory authority audits, deviation and change management as well. And prior to this, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy has worked in Biological E Limited as a junior scientific officer, production of recombinant hepatitis B vaccine. And he's also been into documentation, safety, and he's performed various decontamination operations of fermenters and mixing vessels. Sir has also undergone industrial training in validation of cell culture manufacturing facility, IQ, OQ, PQ, and revalidation of direct impact equipment. Well, it's a great honor for us to have this industry personality within us. So I'm sure participants will have, the industry brought to us live on this webinar. Thank you very much, sir, for accepting our invitation and being here with us on this webinar. Thank you. Now I kindly request you, sir, to begin the session and share your profound knowledge on current trends of biopharmaceutical industry. Thank you.
Hello everyone, my name is Jagan Mohan Reddy. Currently I am working in Dr. Reddy's Laboratories as a team lead cell culture manufacturing. I would like to present current trends in biopharmaceutical industry. So in this topic I would like to give an overview of biopharmaceutical, how various trends at the moment. And I'll try, initially I will try to give an overview, and in the end I will try to explain various opportunities that we have in biopharmaceutical industry. Okay, let us move on with how this biopharmaceutical industry is. So as you know, biotech industry have a great history. So where we started from, from DNA molecule, with the model DNA molecule was described by Watson Crick, and then we have seen various growth rate. I mean, in various sectors we have seen in the quarter period in genetic engineering we have seen tremendous growth. So even today, if you see large complex molecules like monoclonal antibodies are very easily produced, and we have achieved a great success in terms of biopharmaceutical industry where a man can get help. Okay, if you see over the last 50 years, it's been a wonderful journey in biopharmaceutical industry. And in early 1980s, even commercial biotech companies like Genentech, Roche, and were into place. And if you see from last 20 years, Biocon, Dr. Reddy's, Syngene, in tasks. There are many companies are coming up with various molecules. From even 1950 onwards, we have various conventional vaccines. In late 90s, we had recombinant vaccines as well, like hepatitis B, hemophilus influenza. So this is like a wonderful history we have, and where we are standing now at the moment. Look, if you look at, so even stem cell applications we are able to use, gene therapy applications we are able to use. So if I say last 50 years, it's a wonderful way we are going ahead. As you are aware that biopharmaceutical industry is like not just a simple molecule in like manufacturing. It requires a lot of investment. It is a very complex process, and even the business perspective, you see, it's a lot of expense. I mean, you have to invest a lot. So, but over the period, if you see, people are getting like various even advanced technologies, and that made us to provide affordable medicine. So where earlier, if you see early 90s or 2010, so one monoclonal antibody injection of adalimumab we used to get for 2 lakhs for one single vial. If a patient has to take 10 wells, that is going to be 20 lakhs. But now we are able to give it just 20,000 rupees cost per 440 mg. So this is one example I can give how various different technologies that we are incorporating in biopharmaceutical industry, giving much more advanced the quality protein as well as various therapeutics, vaccines, like very affordable range. This is like we can say game-changing thing that we have seen in the last 50 years. Okay, as we have seen in the last 50 years, its biopharmaceutical industry become very competitive environment. It's very much challenging to what you have invested in your R&D. Has to be you have to get reimbursed of that, and like lot of regulatory environment is become very stringent now. Like when you see earlier, like FDA or TCGA, various EMA, various regulatory authorities used to be very now they have become much more stringent actually. So every single impurity that comes with your biomolecule has to be verified, and the quality has to be proven before injected to the patient. And when I look at into small molecules versus proteins, if you ask me, paracetamol, aspirin versus what we have produced in various biopharmaceutical industry, like I can give an example of one antibody. Take one monoclonal antibody called trastuzumab, which will have 150 kilodalton, whereas the aspirin kind of molecule will have 180 just daltons. It's like a manufacturing of a toy car versus BMW car. So you can imagine how different it can be, how complex it can be. It's just just for understanding. Organic chemistry and biochemistry with DNA technologies, like you cannot even compare. The success rate of a live molecule, live cell, a protein that is produced in a cell culture. I mean, the cell is very, very complex process, and there is no such guarantee that is coming out of it a very high success rate. But as various researchers involved in various biopharmaceutical companies, over the period it evolved to such a place. Now we can within 15 months to 3 years we are able to produce one molecule into the market. So it's been like where we used to spend years and decades to one single monoclonal antibody. Now if you see within less than 15 months we are able to come into picture. In the recent past, if you see COVID-19, one of the potential candidate was tocilizumab. This is one of the monoclonal antibody which has very much potential to stop various viral infections. So this is a very promising area, which I can say. And moving on to various opportunities. So it lies between how you design a molecule with a quality, safety, productivity, because at the end of the day, how much production you happen, and that many patients get the vials, and how your quality. Without the quality, there is no meaning for productivity. Safety, the patient safety is always important. When you design a molecule, when you design a process, when you design a manufacturing plant, when you manufacture a molecule, every single place you have to ensure your quality, safety, productivity. And when you know differences between bacterial cells versus mammalian cells, we know the most complex thing is post-translation modification, which we see in mammalian cells. But prokaryote versus eukaryote, like with the post-translation modifications like glycosylation, which is very, very important in terms of binding capacity, or like acetylation, phosphorylation, GDP, GDP binding. So this will help any molecule to get an active form. So if you produce something in E. coli, it cannot be like it cannot give you post-translation modifications. A small molecule like granulocyte colony stimulating factor, uh, which we can do certain post-translation modification externally with some buffer conditioning we can do. So in a small molecule it's possible, but when it comes to complex molecules or therapeutics, we have to look into mammalian cell culture. The future is going to be mammalian cell cultures, and the process, even though it is highly sensitive, but still it's the most promising host we can say. Coming to the greater productivity requires improved fundamental scientific understanding. So when you design a molecule, the metabolic engineering, gene transcription, uh, the way the cell where the exactly host is getting generated, environmental design, in fact, like how a bioreactor condition can be maintained, how the various nutrients should be supplemented through the media, feed, and the more number of cells with a less time, and the more product and the quality of the protein is required. With like our ultimate aim is the quality protein that will act exactly on the target, also with the less side effects. Okay, I'll just take a molecule journey, how it goes through. Like if you see from DNA to a cell banking is any manufacturing plant requires certain ready-to-use cell banks where we can multiply the cells to get certain productivity. Behind this manufacturing, we used to work a lot in cell culture process. So where we from amino acid to DNA to vector in a reverse manner, like reverse genetics, we can do cloning. You are cloning into cloning your vectors so that you can get your host cell ready, and vector to host cell, and how you the transfection of your gene, and selection of your clones. Selection of clones going to be very tough task, and because of this various automations like ClonePix, which is very much automated actually. So nowadays, Octet, ClonePix, these are certain equipment. Even Amber gives like less than like 20 ml bioreactor size equipment, which will give you a lot of quick, rapid selection of the proper clones. So this is going to be a very key factor when you take it into consideration of a successful molecule. So your cell bank readiness is going to be very tough, and this is where we work in our industry. So when you see on the picture right now, like from your right side to left side, how the cell banking one vial to before the volumes getting increased, and it will goes to the cell culture manufacturing by bioreactor stages. It's like a long, lengthy process. It may take up to even 30 days to 50 days to get less than 200 to 300 grams of protein. We may have to run without any contamination. It's a very tough task, yet it is it is the only way to go. When you compare with pharmaceutical process, just a chemical process. When you look into the molecules, are very small. So when comes to biopharma products, is a must. It produced under cells. It is a large in size. It will have a lot of protein, DNA, RNA, and host cell proteins. So these are mostly it will come as a injectable into patient. When your small scale levels, as I mentioned earlier, so as this progression happens, we call it as less than 5 liter as a small scale and more than 50 liter as a large scale. This is a bioreactor size which I'm talking about. Upstream process parameters like suppose oxygen, temperature, pH. So these are the various nutrient metabolites, amino acids, carbon source, nitrogen source. This should come with a certain optimized process. So when you look into bioreactor, a bioreactor should come with all environmental controls, which will give uniformity, homogeneity in the bioreactor. Bioreactor should have like a certain scale of parameters. Like when you say agitation, it should be optimal. If the agitation is too high, you may get shear stress, so the cell may die. So if you talk oxygen mass transfer rate, so if there is a like the less amount of oxygen is there in your bioreactor, you may lose the viability of the cells. So every single parameter going to be very important when you look into the high product titers and without quality compromising. So I suggest students to look into bioreactor operations very keenly. Just look into every single uh, possible learning at unit operations, mass transfer coefficients, because this is the area where I can see a lot of the students lacking a lot of basics actually. So I suggest like basic books like Fermentation Technology, Principles of Fermentation Technology by Stanbury Whittaker. So if you read into every single component of bioreactor, how the scale up happens, when a cell grows to the next levels, how it requires various certain parameter has to be maintained, sensors, how the instrumentation of the bioreactor helps in growing the cells. So this is how like a typical large-scale fermenters P&I diagram, which we call it as piping and instrumentation diagram. So where we can see in the center as a bioreactor vessel with impeller with the blades. So this is how it looks like. Various utilities required like chill water, steam, where we do the SIP, CIP, like a cleaning in place, SIP in place, and various feed additions, media additions through the lines. So every component, it's not just a process. So when I'm asking a young engineer who is like MTech or BTech or biotechnology or biochemical engineering, most of them lacking a lot of basics. So I suggest every student to look into this aspect where we can understand every component, every requirement of bioprocess engineering using certain fermenters. It may be for mammalian, it may be E. coli, but basics remain same. It may be the complexity of the design may vary, but the basic principle remains same. That people may think that what we study in your class may not be useful in the industry. That's absolutely wrong because I still read a lot of books which I studied in my BTech, MTech. When I'm going to certain process, certain understanding of technologies, and even some troubleshooting purpose also we used to refer a lot of books related to bioprocess engineering. So when I see after production of certain molecules in bioreactor, so we go to downstream process where the purification of our protein or our like the biotherapeutic or a monoclonal antibody. So it comes with a lot of impurities because it is grows in a cell. It will come with the process related contamination. It comes with the product related contamination. When you ask me what will be the product process related contaminations, will like amino acids which you supply to the cells. Okay, when you separate your cells, but the media remains same in the broth. Okay, and the product related impurities. Product related impurities can be like certain dimers, like which will not be very active. Certain fragments, even debris. It can be host cell protein, host cell DNA, certain liquids, endotoxins. There are multiple impurities comes with the end of fermentation process. This has to be separated by different process. If it is, example, if you're taking case 1, case 2, how two cells should be separated from the, the separation can be in different certain either continuous centrifugation or depth filtration, pod filtration. Various techniques are there, but what kind of intracellular or extracellular, it varies actually. If E. coli is there, most of the time it will be intracellular. If you are taking a CHO mammalian cell, it will be extracellular most of the time. So this is how your process is designed. So it explains our downstream process in which way it should go. So when you talk chromatography based process, it should be in a pure already like separated from the cell. So before that, if it is intracellular protein, you have to extract them by using certain like techniques like uh, homogenization or dynomills, where you can get the cell rupture can happen so that your molecule will be out of it, so that you can refold them and get it to extract the protein out. Various chromatography techniques to your charge based or various hydrophobicity, size, shape, even bioaffinity, various process like cation exchange, anion exchange. So these are the process point of view. The protein can be separated out from that crude broth. So when you look at these pictures, will give you various the first picture which you are seeing, a depth filtration system, so which can be utilized for cell separation. So where you will get the clear cell clarified clear broth, which can be processed into the second picture which I am pointing out. So which is comes with we call it as chromatography system. The white color resin. This is the resin come with certain capabilities. It can bind to your specific protein or it can bind to your impurities. So in a certain, if a typical process, if you take, initially we go with bioaffinity where we get attached our protein. Then second stage is impurities like DNA, impurities like host cell protein. In various stages, will in the end of this chromatography technique, so we'll be able to purify our cells. Like when you see the third picture, which is called as tangential flow filtration, because the volume is going to be in 1000 liters, 2000 liters, 5000 liters, but the protein is like less than 1 gram per liter. You have to more concentrate this process. So this process broth has to be more concentrated. You should not lose your protein, but the volume should be reduced. So tangential flow filtration is such a process which will help you to concentrate your or buffer exchanging focus so that your protein gets stabilized there. Okay, when it comes to certain nanofiltration, because various biosimilars or various biological products comes with certain viral infections also. So this has to be separated with like less than 0.2 nanometer sized fiber-based nanofiltrations. So this will help you to get rid of all kind of bacterial, viral infections, so that at the end of the process you will get a purified protein. So this is a typical diagram. If you ask me, clarification end of the fermentation, affinity chromatography, and then followed by anion exchange and cation exchange. Certain viral clearance steps like when you incubate your protein broth in a low pH condition, the cells get the capsulated viral get inactivated. Or certain, as I mentioned earlier, nanofiltration is helpful for its removal. And the protein concentration utilizing tangential flow filtration, when it is diafiltration happens at the end of drug substance is prepared. So this is free from the impurities as well as the protein related, which is inactive state, which is not a charged, which is required charge is not available, which is not a quality protein. This all gets removed from the process. This is a typical liquid chromatography where we have different cleaning agents, feeding agents, and the cell culture broth. So if the column which will separate your protein with using UV chromatograms. So exactly at the concentration of the protein peak comes. So which we will be knowing we will be clear quantifying which is going to be your accurate protein, which is going to be your impurity. So based on its size, based on its charge, it get eluted either by different charge or different pH buffer conditions. So this will by separating the waste into, when we know that this peak is going to be giving your waste. This is the protein which is going to be collected in your certain fractions. So at the end of liquid chromatography, you will be able to get a much more purified processed protein. So if you ask me latest technologies available in biopharma, so earlier, most of the times when industry in the early 90s, 2000, the last 30 years, most of the times we used to depend on SS-based bioreactor, SS-based platforms. and we used to run most of the time either batch type or fed batch type. Fed batch is, as we know, as cell grows, we used to feed them certain more nutrient feeds. But now we moved up to a much more concentrated fed batch. What is this like concentrated fed batch? Fed batch is nothing but adding a certain additional nutrients so that there is no nutrient depletion happen. This is nothing but like perfusion. The perfusion is like removing certain waste from the spent media and add some fresh media into it. So this is how it will help you to. So if here is which I am showing is called as ATF technology, which is alternating tangential filtration technology. So this will be utilized as you see certain on the below diagram. So earlier conventional process batch and fed batch versus the red color, which is concentrated fed batch. I think, but which earlier we used to hardly touch 5 million cells. In the same time, we are almost touching the 6 times of it, which is almost 30 million cells per ml. And the viability drop earlier we used to see much earlier drop because the nutrient depletion happens over the period, you will die. But when you see the sustained viability with increased rate of viable cells with this advanced technology called ATF technology, which is we also called as alternating tangential flow filtration. This is in the recent past a very advanced technology that is coming to picture. It will help you to continuously run the process for longer period, and it is much more efficient by increasing your intensified generating high cell concentrations, high viability. This will help a bioprocess in your earlier we have to take 6 batches, but now with this one batch you can achieve the same rate of coating. So this is one such technology which we are seeing in biopharmaceutical industry at the moment. What this latest technology comes with, like it will be low investment. Like earlier, when biopharmaceutical industry used to get step, I mean, once you groundbreaking stage to first batch, it may take 3 to 4 years time. So now certain single-use systems came into picture. Single-use systems are such, if you ask me, single-use bioreactor. It's very simple in structure. All you need to change a bag. You need not to clean. You need not to sterilize. It is which is ready to use bioreactor, which comes with entire setup, even entire instrumentation inside. All you need to set up, utilize, and discard. But what kind of problems it can face? It will increase your the chances of fast changeovers from one product to another product. Very less investment is required. Very quickly you can set up the your facilities. Very less cross contaminations because there is nothing left once your batch is done, all gone. And you need not to spend a lot of time on cleaning, sterilizing. But it also have certain because it will be supplier monopoly will happen. Waste management has to be will be very high. Even logistics, like one like most common problem what we face is suppose that vendor is unable to supply your bags, so your facility has to be standstill. So when you look into advanced technologies, it will come with certain complexities as well. And latest technology, so there is a huge changes is coming in terms of biopharmaceutical industry because this is going to be the face of our future pharma. Whatever the new molecule, whatever the new diseases, so this is where we have to look into. Where the high level to reach more patients with affordable medicine, we have to increase productivity. We have to give more quality proteins. So this is very fastly changing at the moment. Now we are able to take continuous processing, bioprocessing. Earlier, one batch is over, we used to end there, and we have to start a fresh batch. So now, with a less time, with a continuous bioprocessing, and without any interruptions, it's like fully automations we are taking into place. We are utilizing all technologies available. So this is one of the very promising area I can say where future of our healthcare sector can look into. So this actually that was what are the slides which I have gone through so far. May not be much very relevant or it may give you overview, but this one slide I would like to spend little time, especially for the students who are looking for certain opportunities. So most of the times when the students comes to industry, they usually comes with a very less practical knowledge. We understand that the capabilities of various colleges may be limited, but I really appreciate the way their enthusiasm or the way they wanted to learn, and especially college like CBIT. The students are very bright and very quick learners. I wanted to appreciate that as well. Uh, Let us look into various department what a biopharmaceutical industry will have. So, most of the students where they look it is R&D. R&D is the place usually that cell line development process or the upstream where the bioreactor related operations, where the downstream process development, purification steps like chromatography techniques and filtration techniques happens. Analytical development. Analytical development is one place where different whatever the process you have done, the quality of the protein, a quality of your impurity is present, it has to be tested. For this testing, we need to develop certain process. Some method has to be validated. This will be done by the analytical development. Huge scope will be there if somebody can operate a HPLC, high pressure liquid chromatographies. So this is where the people most as I'm aware, like most of them, they imagine themselves doing certain molecular biology related things only. But that is not at all, that is not only the place we can concentrate. There is huge space we can see in clinical development, where is very emerging, especially in India, uh, where like different clinicals, even not just testing, but also the development of early clinical trial stages, the kind of formulation development. Formulation development is nothing but once the drug substance, that active pharmaceutical ingredient is ready, how it should be administered to a patient. So what concentration is, what the dosage, and how it can be more effective. Understanding that it's kind of like pharmacokinetics based on understanding that you have to formulate certain drug product. So this is where like very crucial things comes into place, and manufacturing technical support, because once R&D skills, like the R&D skills will be very less, the low volumes comes into picture. When you want to commercialize it, when you want to go for clinical studies, you need a lot of huge amount of the desired protein or design the biotherapeutic. The manufacturing technical supporting, we call it as MSAT, manufacturing sciences and technology. This is where we require a lot of understanding over the scale differences. Subscale difference is nothing but in a small scale R&D setup, we may run up to 5 liter bioreactor stage. But when you look into manufacturing, it will be 5,000 liter. As I mentioned earlier, you should be very much aware of what kind of uh, what do you say, the kind of scale up related aspects. What kind of scale differences comes with your scale up when you 5 liter to 5,000 liter if you go, what kind of mass transfer coefficients you have to look into. So this is where people has to be very much focused. They should be understanding various uh, this unit operations related, mass transfer related things. So people, especially student, has to focus certain areas where usually like we ask them to do. How this molecule can vary its quality when it is small scale, when it is large scale. So suppose there is a unit operation related to oxygen transfer rate. Low oxygen rates are like can impact your bad quality of the protein. When the scale changes, it will not act like any other R&D scale may not be replicated in the manufacturing scale. So whatever the molecule is developed, it is upstream, downstream process, analytical, clinical, everything is done, but it is failed at a manufacturing level. That's going to be a huge loss to any organization. So we expect people who look into manufacturing or development, they should come up with certain basic knowledge over this scale up as well. Okay, most of the students look into R&D, but where we can also find opportunities is like quality assurance, quality control, regulatory affairs, So quality control is the one place like microbiology, most job promising area, biochemistry, where we do analytical techniques, bioassays, various ELISA based, PCR based techniques, various raw materials we do testing, various packing materials that we do testing. This is a huge scope you will find in biopharmaceutical. So if you ask me, maybe we will be around 100 people working in development, but more than 150 members will be working in QC. Regulatory affairs is usually not very preferred with any freshers, but understanding is that over the period of understanding the various quality assurance prospects, so a regulatory going to be very interesting thing. Quality assurance, where we see documentation, in process, analytical, developmental, validation. So this is a huge area to any biopharmaceutical industry. If you see, there are a huge number of vacancies we always find because the lack of understanding over quality assurance aspects. So people should be aware what kind of regulatory requirements, what kind of, if we have to market certain product. So a government authority can ask you certain questions, certain audits they conduct. So quality assurance is responsible for checking all the quality at various levels, manufacturing, quality, QC, even late stage development, everything will be under scrutiny. This is where the QA plays major role. So where they have to assure certain documentation. CGMP, the good manufacturing practices are followed at every single stage. They have to ensure every data is authenticated, everything is valid. So whether the process you use, if there is a process validation is done, whether it's a cleaning is done, it has to be whether it is cleaning validation is done. So there is no mix up of two different products. So the quality is primary goal of any product that is going out of any biopharmaceutical industry. Let us move on to manufacturing. Manufacturing is a scope like half of the employees in a organization will be manufacturing people. Engineering and manufacturing is a very core area where most of the students can look in for. They can look into as a job prospect area. In this one, we may find certain different departments like cell banking, upstream process area, downstream processing, and formulation, filling, packing. So these are the areas, like as I have given a brief description about cell banking, upstream, downstream, formulations. So if somebody wanted to look into, they wanted to work in the pharmaceutical industry, these are the very most job promising area where they can look into. But most of the people wanted to work for R&D. But my little experience in industry, it says that you can grow if you don't have a PhD or if you don't have a master's, but you can still grow in manufacturing. So when I joined in 2008, I was just like a fresher. But as you grow in in an organization, your skills, your basics will help you, especially in manufacturing. What you have studied, what you have. So it's not about molecular biology or genetic engineering. It's a lot more than that. So with the bioprocess engineering, which we study, and the chemical reaction engineering that we study. So these are going to be very tough and very useful for us. Coming to other sectors like other departments like engineering. Engineering also will contain like certain HVAC where the facility or utility maintenance, process engineering where we get certain troubleshooting issues like whether with the equipment, with the process to maintain certain defined procedures, we may get some problems. So this process engineering team will help us to mitigate those things. And every organization will have its own safety team. The warehouse where we can work for like how the raw material can go come into into organization, and the supply chain management, IT, automation. Automation is the one very job promising area where hardly any people choose it. So automation requires little more knowledge than regular manufacturing. That. So this is requires a certain skill set. This can be acquired through certain experience in manufacturing or engineering, and also business development. This is one core area. If you have a biology background, if you are looking for some uh, MBA course, like I suggest go with certain biopharmaceutical industry related MBA program. If you have, this is highly recommended areas. So if you ask me on a whole, what would be the most job promising area is like manufacturing and QC, and the development is the one also can give scope, but the number of hires will be less in this. I hope if you have any questions, you please comment or like write to me so that I'm really happy. Just leave your email IDs so that I can write them in person. Any questions? I'm ready. I'm with my experience. If I can explain, I'm very happy to explain it. And I hope that my presentation will help you in understanding an overview of the biopharmaceutical industry, how the molecule journey happens, and how biopharmaceutical industry will run. I hope it helps, and thank you for this opportunity. I would like to thank HOD Biotechnology Department, CBIT, Rajni Madam, and my friend Sumitra, and other staff members. Thanks a lot for your time, and thanks a lot for your for giving this opportunity. Thank you.
Hello, everyone. Well, I wouldn't take much of your time, but I would want to thank our speaker for today, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy from Dr. Reddy's Laboratories, for briefing us over the current trends in biopharmaceutical industry, and also explain to all of us as to what it takes to be industry ready and what are the challenges that you come across when you're working in an industry, and what is it that the students have to learn to have a great work experience at the industries. Thank you very much, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, for accepting our invitation and enlightening the audience from the industry perspective. Thank you very much. So with this, we conclude our sessions on this 1 week webinar cum FDP series. Thank you very much. Now it's time to present vote of thanks, and for this I request Dr. G. Vijayalakshmi Ma'am, Senior Faculty, Department of Biotechnology, CBIT, to propose vote of thanks. Thank you.
Necessity is the mother of invention. Need of the hour. No pandemics should stop science, but our innovation, science should save us from this pandemic. Finally, our innovation should be a boon, not a bane. These are the motivating quotes quoted by our dignitaries in the inaugural session. Respected dignitaries, our resource speakers from various universities, my colleagues, and dear participants. Good evening to everyone and namaste. I am Dr. G. Vijayalakshmi, Assistant Professor, Department of Biotechnology, CBIT. Consider this occasion as an honor and privilege to extend vote of thanks on my own behalf and on behalf of Department of Biotechnology, CBIT. First of all, I would like to thank our President, CBIT, Dr. V. Malakonda Reddy Garu, to say for his intellectual vision to impart engineering knowledge 41 years back and to establish our institute, CBIT, in Hyderabad. I would like to thank Sri N. Subhash Garu, Secretary Correspondent, CBES, Srimati D. Sanjayashree, Chairperson, DNP, CBIT, Sri D. Bhaskar Reddy Garu, Advisor, CBIT, for their immense support and encouragement to conduct this 1 week webinar cum FDP series on current progress and future prospects of biotechnology from 8th to 13th June 2020, organized by Department of Biotechnology, CBIT, in association with AP Academy of Sciences, Andhra Pradesh. My heartfelt thanks to our beloved principal, Professor P. Ravindra Reddy Garu for his interest and constant support in every aspect of our department. I would like to extend my thanks to Professor Basveshwar Rao sir, Honorable Secretary, AP Academy of Sciences, Andhra Pradesh, for acknowledging and to be associated with our webinar series. On behalf of Biotechnology Department, AP Academy of Sciences, and on my own behalf, I wholeheartedly extend my heartfelt thanks to each and every resource speaker of this webinar series, from which who hail from diverse fields of biotechnology, for accepting our invite, sharing their knowledge, giving an insight into various topics of biotechnology, and sharing their thoughts of wisdom in spite of their busy schedules. A big thanks to all for being a part of our webinar. Dr. Yusuf Akhtar, Assistant Professor, Department of Biotechnology, Central University, Lucknow. Dr. R. Satish Babu, Associate Professor, Head, Department of Biotechnology, NIT Warangal, Telangana. Mr. Muthu Singaram, CEO, IIT Madras, founder of Vibhazone. Dr. Nipendra V. Singh, Senior Scientist, Horticulture Food Science, Solapur. Dr. Geeta Vemuganti, Professor, School of Medical Sciences, University of Hyderabad. Dr. Bhushan Vishal of NTU Singapore, Dr. Pawan Kumar Reddy, MGH Cancer Center, Harvard Medical School, Boston, Dr. D. Muralidhar Rao, Associate Professor, and Department of Biotechnology, SK University, AP, Dr. Sri Dev Mohapatra, Assistant Professor, BITS Pilani, Hyderabad, Dr. Saidu Ellaboina, Assistant Professor, Department of Toxicology, Jamia Hamdard University, Dr. S. Venkatamohan, Senior Principal Scientist, and DBT, Tata Innovation Fellow, CSIR IICT Hyderabad, Mr. Jagan Mohan Reddy, Team Lead, Biologics Development Center, Dr. Reddy Laboratories, Hyderabad. I would like to thank our dynamic person of our department, Dr. Y. Rajeshri, Associate Professor, Head, Department of Biotechnology, CBIT, for her commendable, untiring efforts since inception of the thought of conducting this webinar till date, to make our department's dream come true with a grand success. My heartfelt thanks to Professor Swamidar Sir, Department CSE, CBIT, and Mrs. Nagajyoti and Mrs. Tarani of CSE Department for their continuous support and interest to make this webinar series a glitch-free. I am falling short of words to thank my colleagues of the Biotechnology Department who worked as a family to make to name Dr. C. Obula Reddy, Dr. V. Aruna, Mrs. S. Sumitra, Dr. VPS Arun, Dr. Mishra, Dr. Sri C. Nagendranath Reddy, Mrs. A. Shalini, Ms. Y. Vinita, Mrs. A. Priyanka, who have been the backbone of this webinar, striving hard to make this webinar series a grand success. My special thanks to our non-teaching staff of Biotechnology Department, Dr. Madhavi Lata, Mrs. Savita, Mr. Basha, Mr. Amir, and Mr. Shekhar. I would like to thank our third year biotech students, Mr. Ritvik, who is only a call away to help all the faculty and to coordinate with them. I am very proud to say he is our design coordinator. I would like to thank our third year biotech student, Mr. Ritvik, who is only a call away to all the faculty and coordinate with everyone. And I'm very proud to say that he is our design coordinator. Last but not the least, a big thanks to all 1200 participants who registered to this webinar series from all the states of India and outside India. Dear participants, thank you all so much for your immense interest, participation, and cooperation throughout this session, and also for your kind and appreciation words in your feedback during and after the sessions, and contributing for the grand success of this webinar. Hope these sessions of happy learning at home ignited many of you to think for need of the hour for a better survival and a better future. And once again, highly grateful to thank each and everyone who contributed to the grand success of this webinar. Stay safe, stay healthy, and be happy.